All right. Well, let's get you started. So you're 242 NightWalker,
Yep.
and you're still you're enjoying the class, having fun, playing through it.
Oh yeah, I love it. Can't wait for like the revamp and stuff to see how OP they make it.
The no cooldown on the backstep looking exciting.
Oh, it's like super juicy. I don't even have to like use my arrow keys anymore.
You could just play with one hand.
Yeah, literally.
And
it's funny. I actually play on controller, so.
Okay. Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's like a fun fact.
You find that works better for you?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a lot more laid back. I don't know. I tried when I first started. I tried playing on keyboard, but I ended up like my back just started hurting after like a couple hours of grinding. So I was like, why don't I just try to set this up on the controller? And it works. Like I just use joy to key and then just map stuff to like the buttons.
Wait, when you say laid back, you mean like physically laid back as well? You just like, can you do
yeah,
this
dude,
and then like?
I'm slumped like all the way back like a slug. Like I'm not even kidding.
I see.
It's so chill.
Knees up in the air.
Yeah, feet up on the table.
Yeah. Netflix one screen, controller on the other.
100%.
Okay.
Always.
And so what kind of stuff do you do on like a daily, weekly basis, and what are you working towards, I guess?
So I just try to get my dailies done pretty much every day, which isn't. I don't do daily bosses, but I'll do like my Maple Tour, Monster Park, Arcane River, just on one character. I tried doing it on two because I have like this Dawn Warrior that I was working on. Dude, it was a full-time job.
Yeah.
I could not. I was like, okay, I need to chill. So, yeah, basically just working towards. I think I'm working towards Lucid at the moment, like judging by my stat and stuff. But I definitely want to get up there in like the higher tier of bosses and like break past like 30k 40k stat in the future. But other than that, yeah, just recently I started like maxing out my totems every month because of the like the reward point change with the weekly bosses.
Right.
Makes it super easy.
Yeah, makes it a lot easier. When you say higher bosses, do you mean in the terms of like hard Lucid, hard Will, and like hard Slime, or more even Tenebris and beyond that?
Yeah, I mean I'm looking at like maybe like Black Mage at some point.
Right. Okay. So just
depending
sky's
on
the
if
limit.
I burn out or not.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's important. That can be an important factor for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, just trying to pace myself right now, like saving Meso for like Star Force events and keep sales. Basically, just doing my dailies, and that's about it.
Okay. And are there any weeklies? So what's the highest, the like the strongest stuff that you solo, and what's the strongest stuff that you've killed in party?
Oh, right now, I actually have never done any party play in this game yet. But I just maybe like a month ago just started being able to clear normal Lotus and Damien by myself on my NightWalker, and then I have two other characters that can clear up to like hard mag, CRA. And so that's about it in terms of like what I can solo at this point. I haven't really tried. I might be able to do easy Lucid. I don't know. Maybe possibly could do like Slime, but that's about the extent of my bossing right now.
Yeah, but you seem to be aware of like which boss goes where and what like the logical next one is to attempt, right?
Yeah, I have a general idea of it. Yeah, I think like next, pretty much Lucid is like next for me in terms of progression.
Yeah, looking for normal Lucid party and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. This is sad. I had a hard Lucid carry in my guild last night, and then I just like I died out on the attempts because I don't know. I just was so not used to the mechanics. I was getting like pushed into.
Oh, the golems knocking you around.
Yeah, the
ping
golems
pong,
like,
ping
push
pong.
you into like exactly.
Yeah, with that knockback resistance.
That was just so sad.
The Mihao link helps a lot with that.
Yeah, probably should have had that equipped, honestly.
Not to get ping pong, yeah. Well, I could have told you that.
You want to hear a funny story, actually?
Yeah,
I have a friend who actually, like, he got banned from your stream, like, the first post that he...
Wait, what did he do?
Dude, it was right before... No, it was during... Remember, like, back in the summer when there was, like, a latch bug and everyone got stuck in latch? And then he put, I think he like the first time he ever got into your chat, he put something like MVP latch, and then you just straight up banned him.
Oh yeah, trying to bait people into I'll go in there into getting
Yeah.
stuck. Yeah.
I just thought it was funny. Like, I mean, he was kidding, you know, but
Yeah. I mean, if he wants to get unbanned, he can get unbanned. But yeah.
yeah.
I
just thought it was hilarious. Like, man, because we watch you, and then it's like, wow, literally the first interaction you have with Scardor is a ban. That's funny.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, you could probably get unbanned now if he cares enough. But yeah, the whole day was like me trying to like tell people to be careful, not to go there, and then someone's like, "Hey, everyone should go." You know, like, have to might have even misclicked. Might have been trying to just make sure that people didn't see the message, you know, so then like purge the message or something.
Yeah, I just thought it was like, it was pretty hilarious.
No hard feelings.
Yeah, no, that's all good. You know, it was all in good fun. Yeah, Windgoat. I see in the chat someone said Windgoat. This character was actually supposed to be a Wind Archer mule, but I ended up just doing Nightwalker instead.
You made it like a noblesse, and you're like, I'll pick the other one.
Yeah, because I was like, well, fuck, like might as well try Nightwalker, and then I just ended up like falling in love with it.
Okay. So how's it been going finding a normal Lucid party? Like, what have you tried so far? Because it can be difficult, right? Getting enough people together.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't really tried.
Okay.
At all yet, because I'm still working on like superior Golic stuff. I think I still need a bit more ID and boss. So
it can help.
I figured after I do that,
it can definitely help. But if you're in a situation where you can already kill Lotus and Damien like pretty comfortably. You can start looking for a party, right? And then as you get the pieces, then it can get even easier. Because I assume most of the people who are trying to look for normal Lucid parties are probably going to be like around the same places you are, maybe a little bit lower level, maybe a little bit higher, but around there. So I think it'll do fine that you can already start looking, and then yeah, the extra ID and the extra boss will then pile on a little bit later. But you got the stat, your ID is decent. I mean, your boss damage or with your flat damage, you get a lot of damage, like flat damage as a Sickness Knight, right? Especially once you get into your Goddess Blessing skill. So the total damage, boss damage pile is still pretty good. I guess I don't know how familiar you are with my resources on the stream. If you've kept an eye on kind of like what the goals are for your character building, or if you're just kind of winging it.
I mean, I've seen like your like Legion and stuff, and you know, like those kind of guides, but I don't think I've really done like too much optimization, I guess. Like like my IED, I've always struggled with getting IED to like a good enough level. Like I know I have 90% right now, but that's literally me like squeezing, like juicing out every single last drop of IED I could possibly juice.
Sure.
Or I could maybe be using those, you know, resources on like boss damage on my gen or whatever. You know, if I do have like a Golic set or something like that. But
yeah, we'll definitely look at where we can maybe squeeze a little bit harder, or where you're already like overextended, and see where the balance is, where all the stats are coming from. I believe that your ID doesn't need to be super high though on a Nightwalker, right? Because of your passive with your stacks.
Right.
Because that gives you like a 35% line, so you throw that onto your current IED, you'll end up like pretty close to 94. So I think when it comes to your stage of the game where you're at, I think you're for now, I think you're good. Ice to the Future is, of course, you want to scale up a little bit, but you'll also probably want to scale down on some of the sources that you have now. So you'll be looking for more forward to like replacing current sources. And slightly building up existing sources, but not so much starting up new sources, I don't think, because you don't want to underestimate your passives that you have, right? And that comes into the difference between like the visual and the functional IED. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yeah, right. Like it's just what's on your stat screen versus like what's actually being calculated.
Yeah, exactly.
With
and
all the other bonuses.
And because
I struggle with that a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, we can look at that a little bit more. I guess other than that, yeah, so you're trying to achieve pretty much everything. Just progress one step at a time. You are you're pretty much playing solo. Is that something that you want to keep going, or you're just, you were able to, so that's just what you did so far?
Yeah, I mean, I'm indifferent to it. If there are parties and I can contribute to a party and like take down some tougher bosses, totally fine with that.
Okay.
But I do like the idea of solo progression and just being able to do stuff on my own too. So it's a good mix, I guess.
Yeah, well, solo progression in the sense that you get more value out of doing it solo, or you just don't want to be necessarily beholden to needing other people to show up to be able to play.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably rather the second one, right? There. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes total sense. That you don't want to be like, well, I can't do anything now because other people didn't show up.
Exactly.
Fuck me, right? I guess. Yeah.
Kind of just do it on my own time. You know?
Yeah. The flexibility of that. So I guess to get into that a little bit with the flexibility and everything, do you because you have the high level Kana? Is that a farming character that you use to fund your account and your character?
Yeah, that was actually the first character I started on this account, and I just kind of just worked on it for a while till I can get to a point where I could farm up and fund my other characters. I don't really play much on it anymore though, because I just do my MapleStory and my Ursus on my Kana basically. And then after I heard about the Kishin changes, and I'm just like, well, wouldn't say it was a huge waste of time, but
you probably got your mileage out of it, right? And it's a solid Legion and Link skill character, so I mean it gives its value for sure. And you have another 6 months, right, that you can get value out of it. Would you say you use it in the beginning to fund the rest, and now you have Mezzo and drop gear on the Nightwalker, so you just, with the amount of time you're playing, you're okay with the totems and putting in the 2-hour sessions, and you don't really need the flexibility and the power up above totem hours of the Kana anymore?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when I started the Kana, this was before the reward point changes for the weekly bosses, so I was really having a hard time just getting enough reward points to max out my totems.
Right.
So at that point I was like, well, I might as well just farm on my Kana because I can only buy 3 totems this month.
Yeah, and then you can just kind of built-in totems. Yep.
Yeah, but now that I'm doing 15, I don't even know if I'll have time to grind on the Kana, because I mean that's quite a few totems to get through in a month.
Oh yeah. I usually don't even get through. I get through 3 or something most of the time. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It is quite a lot. Some people just blow through them in 4 days and then go hard Kana, So
I mean that's wild. How much you have to be playing every day to
Well, depending on how much you play, the Kana can be very, very good value for you, or it can be something that's actually kind of distracting and keeping you away from the value, right?
Yeah.
But so
I guess if there's ever a month where I just go full neat,
Yeah. Yeah, well then you have that to fall back on. Exactly. Yeah. For MapleStory and for Ursus, do you still do it on the Kana out of habit? Because for Ursus, for example, you get more Mezzo the higher your rank is, right? So your Nightwalker would be getting more Ursus Mezzo at this point as well. I mean, it's only a little bit, but depending on your level, you should be, for optimization-wise, quote-unquote, I guess, could be doing it on your Ursus, or do you just feel like you want to play at least a little bit of Kana every day just to not totally abandon the character or something?
Yeah, I'm just trying to justify the hours I put in,
I mean, it probably enabled your character to be as strong as possible, as strong as it is, right?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
I think you're honoring the Kana.
It was a really good decision in the beginning to just because it was a burning Kana too. I started off with a new account. Launch
yourself into mid-game immediately.
Exactly, yeah. With the guild and the Absolab carries and stuff, you get online pretty quick these days.
Yeah, if you're going for just max efficiency and mass progress, you can make a lot of progress really quickly, definitely.
But yeah, to answer your question, basically just out of habit, I just like to hop on and do my Ursus and then my Maple, kind of my quote unquote my Meso dailies.
Because you're not doing extra symbol stuff anymore, right? Because you mentioned with the Dawn Warrior that got a little bit out of hand.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Okay. Is there any plan to maybe, let's say that Nightwalker maxes out Choo Choo and Vanishing Journey or something, to be I'll do just Choo Choo and Vanishing Journey on the Dawn Warrior, so that the total amount of dailies kind of still stays the same, but I don't end up spending way more time per day doing the dailies, something like that?
Oh, I actually never thought about that before. That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's kind of how I tried to do it, to make sure that, the total clump of daily time kind of stays the same, and then as an area finishes on one, you just add an area up to the other one, and that gives you a little bit more justification of like, I'm still getting the same amount of value. And then people ask me like, do you do like dailies on 18 characters? Like, well, technically I do less than one full character's worth of dailies. I just do them split over all the characters, right? It's like you do like Ursus and Monster Maple Tour on like the Kana, and then you're doing 4 symbol dailies on a Nightwalker, and then 2 on a Dawn Warrior, and then you're doing Monster Park on the Lara or something, right? And it's like, well, you're playing all these characters. We're like, well, you're just doing one character's worth of progression. You're just spreading it over multiple ones.
Oh yeah, I never thought about it that way. It's a good way to think about it. But yeah, I don't know, dude. My laziness it might just be stronger than the will to.
Yeah, it might be like done is done.
Optimize.
Never go back. Yeah.
I just want to see that max, label on the symbol, and just that's it. Log off.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Well, if the Dawn Warrior wants to scale up eventually, so the way I see it is that direct funding is something I don't really like doing, like spending just a whole bunch of money on a character. But if I can get a lot of cubes, a lot of flames from a main character, if I can, by doing dailies, because I'm okay with logging in every day and doing dailies, that's something I'm okay with. If by doing that, you can actually fund the character enough for the character to be able to level up to 235, or to be able to do more bosses, maybe just some nodes on there, but they don't actually need that direct cash infusion, then you can make it so that the mesos all can still keep being directed into the Nightwalker without it taking away from the growth of the other character necessarily. So that's, just like as an option to consider, I guess, once you get to that point. Because I've heard from people, like, once you max out 1, 2, 3 symbols on your main character, or you're like completely done on your main character, and then you're like, okay, now I'm going to start up on another character. Starting up again from scratch feels pretty shitty, but I feel like if you kind of keep the ball rolling and stay in that rhythm, of course I'm not like, telling that that's what you should do, just like as an option, it can help kind of make it less of a bump to get over, because the character will already be at like level 11 or 12 on like Choo-Choo and Vanishing Journey, right? And all of that extra arcane power can take you into being able to do Morass dailies faster, and then if you want to level from 230 to 235, just to add a Sphera to the list and have all of them done, and kind of like quote-unquote max speed up, right? Because you're not going to casually go to 250 to speed up a Sphera. That's a little... that's maybe in a year or two, right? That'll be the norm, but like at this point, I think getting to 235 just to have access to the dailies. But I totally get not doing like full sets of dailies on multiple characters. That's definitely a whole commitment that I'm not even willing to do, yeah.
Yeah, that fried me, man.
Yeah.
But honestly, the Dawn Warrior... I don't know. It could be a casual 250 because the mobbing is so brain dead on that class that it's literally AFK like a third of the time.
A little bit, yeah. Pop that big old AoE and just sit in the middle of the map.
I just got lucky because I made that Dawn Warrior right around DMT, so I was able to like really like buff it up.
Oh, I see.
Pretty minimal costs.
So
at that point,
the Kana and the Dawn Warrior are soloing everything up to Lotus and Damien, basically.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because with a little bit of that extra, they might actually be able to do Lotus and Damien as well, if you get access to guild skills, probably.
Yeah, that's what I would probably need the guild skills. And...
Probably don't need them, but it'll save you so much time.
Yeah, right.
Without guild skills, like, okay, cool, 20-minute runs.
29-minute runs,
yeah. But then with guild skills, might be like 20 to 25 minutes for like both of them together, and then it might be something, right, especially if the value of the crystals goes through and all that stuff. I mean, that's months away, but if you start doing dailies even just like every other day on the character, that might be a total of like 6 or 7k stat that you gain on the Dawn Warrior without having to spend any direct money, except for leveling up the symbols and a bit of time every day on it. So that's something, with a long-term vision, that's something that I take into account. But yeah, just as a suggestion, I guess.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay, so the Kana is the backup. The Nightwalker is pretty much self-sufficient and probably at the point where a bunch of the flames and the cubes that you're getting are trickling down to the Kana, to the Dawn Warrior, maybe to the Lara.
Yeah, basically. I mean, I just got like a new round of... I just started getting like my superior stuff, so I'm just kind of throwing like...
Yeah, now it's reprioritizing.
On that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, flaming that is a
dream. Yeah. You should see the flames. I actually got some pretty decent flames on my alien stuff.
Oh, the alien stuff from a long time ago. I see.
Yeah, just like because I got it like way back in the day.
Way back, yeah. Was this Kana like a bye-bye station Kana, or was it after that?
No, it was after that.
Okay, okay.
I think I made this account like start of summer 2020, I think.
Okay.
Or 2021, so one of those.
Maybe 2021. Like the last big event, or like a year before that, I guess.
I think it was like maybe like a couple months before the One Droid event, the Glimmering. Or whatever, Mechanical Hearts.
Yeah, whatever. Mechanical Hearts. What was that? Was that February or March? So maybe your account is like a year old, like from like last winter, maybe.
Yeah, I'd say like maybe about a year or so.
Mm-hmm.
I had an account before, but I don't know. I just wanted to like start fresh.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have any Legion or anything. I think it's just like something like 200 and like.
Yeah, you might as well start over. Yeah, just one Terra burn and you just blow past that anyway.
But yeah, ended up working out.
Yep. For sure.
And then the flame compensation definitely helped a lot.
Oh yeah,
because skyrocket to a better spot.
Mm-hmm.
And with Legion too, because they gave us all those 3x coupons.
Yeah, that just all of that stuff together was a insane amount of stuff. Yeah, that was April of this year. Yeah, so if you're around to capitalize on that, or April of last year, sorry. So if you're around for that, then you must have been at least like around for winter 2020.
So I feel like all the time is just a haze now.
Yeah.
So it's just dailies every day.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, every day can kind of feel like the same one.
How much time have I been here? 3 months, 3 years, doesn't matter anymore.
How long do you think the session has already been?
Oh, dude, I don't even know.
22 minutes almost.
Oh, wow. That's my
concept of time is really think about it. Okay, so that's all pretty clear. So I guess we'll go a little bit through the stuff that I have. The resources, sorry. Totally mind blanking. The resources I have and like the numbers in that to kind of like keep that up to date, and then go through all the systems that you have, and make sure that that's all up to speed and that you don't have any major questions there, and then we can go into details about your account and on short, mid, long-term goals. Sound good?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So for the general progression stuff in the game, have you seen the progression grid? Because this is usually kind of like the backbone of these sessions, is where you are with this, and again, like you don't have to meet all of these requirements, right? But the goal is kind of to see if you're roughly in the ballpark for these things, to know if you're incredibly behind on something, incredibly lacking on something, or if you're right where you want to be.
Right. No, I actually haven't taken a look at this ever, but.
Mm-hmm. So you would be, according to this, right, a little bit of just entering the early stages of the late game, right, which is basically where normal Will starts. Normal Lucid starts. Sometimes it's like just at the end of the mid game. Sometimes it's early of the late game. It's just around there, right? And then, so the main stat, you're right there. Critical rate, I believe that you were at 100%, right?
Yep.
And that's, are you like at 90 without, 100 with decent sharp eyes kind of setup?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. And because in the beginning, like crit rate and IED, you're like a little bit past the point where that is like the main thing that we talk about, but they're still very important, right? Keeping that 100 crit rate at all times with mobbing and bossing, with the different hyperstat presets. And then the IED, of course, being very important when you are bossing. IED basically being the crit rate of boss damage, right? If you have crit rate, you can apply the crit damage. If you have IED, you can commit all of your damage, including the boss damage. And all these numbers, the basis of these numbers is, there's a little bit out of whack here and there because some classes have way more damage percent than others, right? So some classes can reach these numbers very easily, and some can be very, very much on the lower end. But the idea behind the balance is that you have a general idea of what you're aiming for, and also to make sure that you're not dedicating your resources to something that maybe isn't as important, and so that you can more easily feel out like where would my time and my resources be more efficiently spent. So I don't know if you see any numbers here where you think like I'm completely off here. This is a problem. I'm just going to go through things a little bit as well, but I think Star Force wise, that's probably with the guild buff, right? So you should be at like 235. So Star Force is a little bit on the lower end according to this. Might be because of event rings. I haven't checked everything yet, but like event rings don't have any Star Force at all, right? So
Yeah, event rings, and then I think my
yeah.
alien stuff is still 12-star. So
Yeah. Yeah. So that stuff going up to 17, and then the event ring starting to get replaced with 17-star ring. That's a huge amount of difference in Star Force. So that's what explains that major gap, right?
right, yeah.
And then weapon flame. I don't know if there's any. So I guess if you have a list of questions already, or if there's any systems here where you feel like you could use a little bit of a brush up, let me know. So when it comes about ID, I think we'll talk about a little bit, right? For flames, do you feel good about that?
I mean, I feel good about where I'm supposed to be. I know my flames right now, they're just very like placeholder, especially for some of the stuff that I'll be replacing, like my Absolab stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I get flame score, and I get like boss advantage. What I'm generally supposed to be rolling on those. I just feel like I'm saving them for like, like way later when I gotta like super optimize after stars and stuff.
Exactly. Now you're just getting placeholder flames, but if you would be min maxing for late game and end game, the longer you would keep it, the more you would min max and try to adhere closer to the scores on the screen, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Boost node and skill node. I guess we'll just slowly go over the matrix. Quickly go over the matrix, not slowly. Quickly go over it and make sure that everything there is 100%. And then arcane power. Doing your dailies. That's pretty self-evident, but that's one of the more important cornerstones of building your account, right?
Yeah, I never even realized, like until I started getting like way up there with the arcane force. I'm like, wow, this is giving me 10k stat. That's crazy.
Yeah, that, and then the hidden final damage as well, right? Because basically the reason I made all of this is because in the beginning and a long time ago, I don't know how long ago you played, we always used to just look at damage range, right, and be like, okay, this is how strong you are. But the further we went, the more important stuff and the important stats all just didn't even show up in your damage range. They were just all applied on hit effect, and it wasn't even that important anymore to have high range. There was just a bunch of other stuff that mattered, and basically I just made a list of all that other stuff that mattered, and then kind of looked at, okay, well, what do you need for certain bosses? What do you need? And then what is a realistic access that you have? And then kind of comparing the opportunity cost between the targets. I don't know if you're familiar with opportunity cost.
Not really.
Basically, it's like an economical term from economics, but basically the way that I use it is, let's say that you have 10 points in your hyper skills, and you can use them for anything. If you use them on critical rate, for example, maybe you get 3% critical rate or something, right? That 3% critical rate isn't 100% a buff, because getting 3% critical rate might go at the expense of 1% critical damage, or at the expense of 8% boss damage, right? So the opportunity cost is basically like how much of another thing you're foregoing by upgrading the thing that you can do, because the resource that you're committing could also be committed to other stuff. So that's basically what you're constantly doing when you're spending money, right? You're like, okay, if I try to go for 1 star force on this, on average it's going to cost so much, it's going to give me this much damage gain. The opportunity cost is the lowest here, because all the other stuff, if I spend it on that, the efficiency there would be lower, right? Less bang for my buck. So that would have a higher opportunity cost. So you're always looking for where you have the lowest opportunity cost, basically. It's kind of intuitively trying to, So the more sources of damage you get and the more systems are in play, the harder that is to intuitively gauge. So that's why I threw it all into this list, because like very early on, if you just get to legendary and you get like 30% IED on your WSE, that's great, right? Because that means your IED is immediately high. You can just focus on pumping damage, pumping boss damage. You don't even have to worry about the link skill so much, and you can commit all your damage. But the further you go, the more opportunity cost there is in having those 30% IED lines on your WSE, because it's going at the expense of a boss damage line, which is way more rare, or a percentage attack line, which is even more rare than that, right? And because of how the damage works, then the opportunity cost of that ID line becomes way higher. But early on, it doesn't really matter that much. Having high ID early on to be able to even hit the bosses is way more important, and that's way more valuable. So that's kind of how I look at all those things and how they came to be in this grid, basically.
Yeah, I mean, no, you're totally right, and I think that's where a lot of players start to struggle. It's just, it's easy to like, oh, I rolled like a good flame on my glove, something like that. But then when you've got like decent flames on all your stuff, decent potentials, it's like at that point you're like, okay, well,
Yeah, going from decent to good, and from good to great, and yeah.
Yeah, then it's like which system, which one of the 11 systems on my gear am I supposed to be working on?
Yeah, and we're lucky in Reboot that we don't have non-Reboot where they have like scrolling and bonus potential to add to all of that as well, which just makes it all so much more complicated because then you have to get money into the mix, and because we can reduce it all down to time, right?
Yeah,
but then,
right.
Yeah, because I remember way back in the day, I knew someone who was like, they started playing Reboot because they calculated if I were to work and play non-Reboot, and with the amount of money that I got from working like an hour, the amount of progress on average that I could get by translating that money that I would get into cubes, the average return would be lower than if I would farm those hours instead in non-Reboot, and then with the Mezzo, the expected returns, investing that into the game. So it makes more sense for me to play Reboot than to work like a part-time job and work non-Reboot. Like that's how they were looking at like the general progression. But that's like taking the opportunity cost and the efficiency and all of that to a whole other level, of course. But if you're looking purely at progression as the vector, as the constant that you're trying to chase, then that is something that you want to take into account.
No, that's totally wild to me. I'm Reboot for life, since day one. But I can respect people who just don't have the time to put in, and so they'd rather just
for sure
buy the cubes. But
yeah, if your time
for me,
is
it's more about the journey than the destination. At least for me personally, So if I were to just pay like $10,000 and just have a maxed out character, it's like at that point it's like, okay, what's the next step here?
You can kill the bosses one time very quickly and be like, yes, I can do that, and then be future proof, I guess. Yeah, be future proof for the next content. Because that's the one constant, is that the game keeps expanding, keeps adding more content, more bosses. Yeah, but I'm totally with you. Like people who buy like league accounts and then just demote, and then buy a new one. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what is the purpose here? This feels miserable, but that's just me. Maybe I just don't understand, I guess.
Yeah, at least you can't demote in MapleStory. You can boom, but
yeah,
you didn't play and like your levels just went down. That'd be wild.
Yeah, you're like decaying in the EXP. That would be horrible. Yeah, so I guess we'll just go through these systems like one at a time, I guess, and then you let me know if you have any questions, and then we'll move on to the next one so we can round it up with the equip stuff. Sound good?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So I guess crit makes sense. I have a command for all of these, by the way, all individual ones. So main stat, I don't have one because it's basically the amalgamation of all the other ones kind of working together, right? It's part Star Force, part cubing, part Legion, part Lynx, part a little bit of everything, part arcane power, right? All of that kind of bleeds into this one, which is why people mainly use main stat now as the big indicator instead of range. I prefer using level above that because level also takes into account the level difference damage penalty, right? If you're familiar with that. So that's why I like to use level as my big indicator. And all of this stuff, if I'm going to say anything about early, mid, late, end game or something, it's always going to be referring to these numbers, just as a heads up, I guess. And then this is also internally connected to all the other resources I have. I don't know if you've seen the Lynx and Legion one, but your Legion was pretty good, so
yeah, thanks to you.
Okay.
That
you're very welcome. I don't know if you have any specific questions for Legion and Lynx or how to progress from where you're at, or if that all feels good.
No, I think it's pretty straightforward. I just have to get people to 200, but I like to wait for like events or like if they throw us like some 2x coupons. But now that it's 6K, by the way, I don't know if like anyone in the chat hasn't got 6K yet, but dude, it changes your life.
Worth it, right? Yeah.
It's like you actually get to like play the game once you have 6K Legion, because all your characters do like some decent damage up to at least like 180, 190.
Yeah, you feel that like giant wall that you walk into, it just gets pushed way further down into the game, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. And so now it's like I don't even have to really like invest in all that much mule gear in order to level fast. Whereas before I was just dying getting to like 140, because it was just so slow. I just did no damage whatsoever. Yeah, definitely worth it. 6K, not that bad to get. So
comparatively now, I think it's much easier. It's just hard to start up. Like the first 1.5 to 2K is just really rough.
It is, yeah. But that's where the 3x coupons really help me out.
Yeah, I assume. I think every generation of people who starts playing has like some kind of event that they can use as a crutch to get those early levels out a little bit faster. And then once you're through that and you get to the 2K, 2.5, 3K, 3K is a big bump. You get the bigger Legion board, the extra characters in, and then 3 to 6 is like kind of smooth sailing. I guess like 5.5 to 6 is a little bit rough again to get those last levels, to get all of those characters out. But then, 6 to 8 is where the real stuff starts. But like 8 is really good because you just cover so much more of your grid. You get to basically fill the entire boss damage and a little bit of crit rate, basically going from 6 to 8. So definitely adds up.
I'm looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
Should be too bad, I think.
No, I don't think so. As long as you're slow and steady, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And
trying not to burn out.
Yeah, exactly. Looking for events to benefit from max. So the reason I use the level to also include like the level penalty stuff, right? I have the daily and weekly grid. I don't know if you've seen this one, but you've probably roughly followed this if you've just been playing the game, right? Which kind of content, which kind of stuff, roughly when you can start. Of course, if you have a bigger Legion, then a lot of the stuff you could start a little bit earlier. If you already have mechanical skill, experience with the bosses, you can definitely start trying earlier. And in some classes, primarily support characters, if you're trying to solo, you probably have to be a little bit later than these numbers. And if you're doing, you can probably do them at the level or a little bit higher because, 1 + 1 = 3 to a lot of the supports. You know that playing the Kana, of course. So that's what this is all connected to, and that's why I want to use the level as the indicator, because then it just synchronizes with everything that I have, also the other stuff. But yeah, but about crit rate. Where are you getting most of your crit right now?
I think it's
not from the board. I think NightWalker has decent crit by itself.
Yeah,
right?
It has good crit, and then I just have Phantom Link and like a couple of the Legion blocks. And then decent sharp eyes, I think, gives me 100.
Yeah, like so the Legion members, I mean, like the Marksman, the Night Lord, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a little bit in hyper stat too. I forgot.
Yeah, I think that's pretty normal, yeah. I mean, at a certain point, once you're going past 10 or on the other ones, it makes more sense to just dump into critical rate instead and get the stats pretty much for free. So one major thing to look out for crit rate as you get further is the value in the hyper skills, right? The comparative advantage there. And the other thing is your Legion grid, where basically your boss damage and your critical rate are interchangeable there because it's just 1-to-1 for both, and it's both additive, right? So they're equal value there, but when it comes to comparative to your hyper skills, there probably crit rate is cheaper than boss damage, right? So it would make more sense to do what you're doing and just like level up the hyper stats instead. Some people might be like, oh, I'm trying to get the boss damage to 11 and then putting all of the Legion board into the critical rate. This would be more efficient the way that you have it, right? Because you're optimizing for the system within the puzzle, basically. But well, you're trying to. I
hope so. I'm just kind of winging it there, but
yeah.
Well, that's the right way to do it.
You get a lot more wiggle room because of your inner ability as well, right? That really helps you out with the.
Oh yeah, the fact that I rolled
getting
that,
200.
that's a godsend.
Yeah, because that's like to a lot of people, it's a total myth as well. It could take a lot of resources from people. So Nightwalker inner ability wise, you're set quite well. Do you have a plan for the inner ability and how to progress past this?
I mean, I'm probably just gonna trying to get like Meso top line at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know if I need 20% boss, especially since I'm like leveling right now pretty hard. And I could just do like all my weekly bosses without it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But then once I get to a more comfortable stage where I'm trying like the harder bosses and doing parties, like maybe I'll try 20% boss. I don't know, that Meso 20%, I feel like is just so.
Yeah, I think February 6th we have a 50% off, right? So there's an opportunity pretty soon. For people who don't have that unique line locked in yet that you have, I would probably wait a little bit longer for the last KMS change to come through to increase the rates of epics and unique lines first. But since you already have it, I would take opportunity on the 6th to just lock the 20% and see if you can get that Meso Obtain line up top.
What's like the main source of honor though? Because I feel like I
Mhm.
see everybody with like 3-4 million honor
Yeah,
saved up.
that's saving for a long time. It's so if you're training with drop rate, you get a lot of those little ones that add up together. It's mainly doing daily and well, some doing daily, but mainly the weekly bosses are a huge chunk. And then you can also buy honor in event shops and from the dojo shop
Oh, okay.
for
I see.
extra.
But yeah, everyone says not to buy honor from like the event shops because it's I guess they say it's like a waste of the tokens since you get so much anyway. But I don't know. I've never gone over like 500K.
The problem is that honor experience you can get very lucky and you don't need much, but I think it's one of the more valuable items in event shops that gets highly overlooked because the amount of sources of honor experience are very low, and if you really want to min max the late and end game interoperability, it's extremely expensive. So for example, I rolled 20 crit on my cannoneer recently. Um, when I had attack speed +1 on the main, which I definitely need, right? Cannoneer slow as fuck. So then during a 50% off, I locked the critical rate and tried to roll back the attack speed +1 on the top line, and it cost me almost 4 million honor experience to get it back.
Damn.
So from that perspective, like I don't think it's ever a way. Like if you're very early in the game, yeah, I wouldn't prioritize the honor experience. But if you're like in the mid game, early stages of the late game where you are, don't neglect sources of honor experience. Definitely not, because you already know like you're going for mezzo, and then later than that you want to reroll again, and you want to go for the boss. Probably once you're like doing hard lotus, hard will, and hard slime maybe, right? You want to optimize maybe a little bit more for bossing, or maybe once you get to Tenebris, whenever you want to. So you're going to have to do that jump again. And then the further you go, you might even want to see if you can get something juicy on the third line other than 12 speed, which that might be like millions again. So you're never really going to run out of sources that you can throw the honor experience at. So I wouldn't, I would caution against people saying that it's like a waste on the event stores. I definitely wouldn't say that. You don't want to go for it too early though. That's definitely true. But like, yeah, late stages of the mid game and early stages of the late game, don't underestimate that. Because you want to sit on.
Need it at some point.
Yeah,
so might as well just stack it up.
Exactly. I'm still keeping my fingers crossed for interoperability presets, so that maybe you can make a mobbing one and a bossing one. That would be nice. But
that was literally about to mention that. Yeah, when's that gonna happen, huh?
Yeah, I'm still sitting on my mobbing one on my arc, just hoping that one day we'll be able to. Yeah, because my arc is sitting on 10 mil honor just from because I rolled it really really long ago and I haven't touched it since, so I'm just sitting on 10 mil. But well, I think a lot of other characters that have a lot of mills as well, like some of my characters do, is also from the compensation, right? Where you had the flame compensation, you also had the honor compensation. So people might have also just stocked up on a bunch of that and are just sitting on that to wait for optimization for later.
Oh, that's true, yeah. I don't even know what I did with that, honestly. Oh, wait, no. You know what? My account didn't have like a ton of...
yeah, maybe it didn't have that much, yeah.
From before, so I think...
Yeah,
it's kind of sad too because like, I heard of people getting like 10k flames back. I'm just like, damn, like
yeah, I think I got 14.
You're really rolling like T6s, T7s on like all your shit
on everything. Yeah. Well, yeah, it got to the point where people were like looking at my progression milestones and were like, oh, those limits for the flames have to be way higher. And I'm like, well, just because you guys got 18,000 flames and are rolling higher shit, that doesn't mean that that's a realistic level for everyone to aim for now. Yeah, because I think I had 14k or 16k or something like that as well. Yeah, and I don't even. That's mostly from just using flames from bosses from weeklies. Like I never really purchased a lot of flames to actively flame something. So I can only imagine that people who did that probably got like 28k or some crazy stuff. People who really spent a lot of money. Yeah. So.
Yeah. You know, in like a twisted, ironic kind of way, I was like, every day I'm just hoping for Nexon to fuck up more and more. So we just get more free shit.
you hope to like expose more that they fucked up in the past, right? That you've already coped with. Yeah, you don't want them to actively fuck up more like right now. I mean, the server's status is already kind of
characters got deleted.
Here's double compensation for everything. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so interoperability makes sense. Yeah, I guess with hyperstats, your distribution seems to make sense. I don't know how the lower stats of hyperstats, are they like your attack and your arcane power and your damage to normal monsters? Is there anything there, or do you have that split between two presets?
Yeah, I have it. My second preset just has, it doesn't have like the IED and the boss damage. It just has the like bonus XP
and damage to normal
monster damage, and then it's a little bit of arcane.
A little bit of arcane.
I mean, those I don't have any of those on.
Yeah. Okay. And for Did you have any questions for Link's skills on how to go about that, or does that all make sense to you?
No, I'm pretty good on Links.
Okay. Except for the knockback resistance on Lucid, right? Don't forget that one.
Yeah, right. I think I didn't even put it in. I have the Mihail link.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw the glimmering guy. You're looking forward to the 100% knockback?
Like, it drops arcane gear, right? Hard Lucid.
Yeah, it has. Well, it has a chance. It doesn't like. It's not guaranteed. Far from it, but there's a chance. Yeah. Plus, it drops those boss droplets that you need to turn with the area droplets into the coins to buy the extra arcane stuff. So it's kind of like the currency, and then a very small chance of the arcanes. Yeah.
Yeah, and plus the what's it called? The soul shards too.
Yeah, soul shards. Yeah, and then the very small chance of the incredible pink Lucid belt, of course, which is not part of the best in slot set for us at all because we have Gollux. But
yeah, so that belt's kind of useless, right? Because you'd be using superior Gollux.
Completely useless. The pitch boss set is really good for KMS, but because we have Gollux, it just doesn't come into play for us at all. So it's completely useless if you get it. You get achievement points, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Familiar wise, are you okay there, or do you have any questions?
Well, I only just recently started getting just into familiars because I was doing MTS3 for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I got pretty lucky with the large drop rate.
Mm-hmm, for sure. That's a very good solid foundation to start building off because now you just get more cards with everything else you're doing, so you'll be able to accumulate more. You're familiar with the badges and everything?
Yeah, badges, I still need to get 10, but I mean, in terms of familiars, how should I be, how should I be ranking those up? Am I trying to go for uniques or am I just trying to go for epics?
I usually just advise people to just churn out as many epics as you can. If you find that you're training so much that your whole inventory is just filling up and you can't even hold regular stuff anymore, then just make a few uniques and you'll get rid of your cards very, very quickly. But usually I just say power numbers, just make a bunch of epics. If you don't have the 10 badges yet and you're only slowly leveling them up, you can also do more uniques that way because you'll probably create a little bit of a bottleneck. But sometimes people just take a bunch of familiars, throw them on a mule or something for a while, right, until they get the 10 badges. So you get the 2 slots and then you can go back to doing 2 at once, right? You do the large item drop and then you do 2 to level up at the same time, and then you
so I should be actively swapping out.
Yeah, I think
just to level them up while I'm using a totem.
I think every 15 to 20 minutes or something, usually one maxes out, depending on how fast you clear, right? You can just check for yourself and see if it's closer to 15 minutes or if it's closer to 30 minutes, and just swap them out. And then I don't know if you have, you've got the bat stuff, right? That does damage over time. Try to not lose your combo and everything, right? Because you kill pretty separately, so you build combo orbs very quickly, so it's a nicer part of your EXP buff, I guess.
Yeah,
as a NightWalker, so try to not drop your combo when you're doing it. That's the most difficult part, is trying to not drop your combo. Maybe during an elite or something, during the bonus, that's a good time to switch them over.
Yeah, dude, honestly, for me, the hardest part is just literally remembering to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just 45 minutes later, I'm just sitting there in my chair, it's just so chill. I'm oh shit.
Yeah, with your controller. Oh yeah. Maybe you have to. You have to grab your keyboard for doing that.
Yeah, I do a kind of a hybrid, for UI type stuff.
Yeah,
I do use my keyboard.
You do have limited buttons, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna map inventory. So
That's a little too much.
But I do have space and enter set up, so I can accept quests. So I can pick go into dailies and stuff just without even touching anything. It's super nice.
Okay. Other than that, any familiar stuff? You know what lines you're looking for, what familiars you're looking for?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, probably just boss damage, IED where I can.
Large healing's pretty good if you can get those.
Large healing is good. I didn't know about that.
Yep. Just for will, it's going to be very important. Varishilla, it's going to be pretty important. So even if you get 2 of them, just in the beginning, if you're practicing the boss, just giving yourself more healing so you can, get to more situation, get more practice. And then the stronger you get, and supportive characters usually go a little bit harder on the healing because they're not doing as much as the damage output. And if you're doing more of the damage output, you probably want to go for 2 bossing, maybe 1 healing and will, and then in some other bosses you don't take any healing at all. But it'll definitely make a lot of the boss runs, especially Will and Varicella, a lot easier. So like large healing to nearby allies or to party members, any of those are good. Party members is preferred over the two, but they essentially do kind of the same thing. But you know,
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, how much healing are we talking though? Like, is it?
I believe it's 15 or 20%.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Per tick when it happens. Yeah, and they all stack together as well. So if you have a whole party with a bunch of healing familiars, you can just go like 5% HP to full if it ticks at the right time. So it definitely helps with the survivability. Again, for this, I also have the commands for the familiars. So like right now, I don't know that number, so I'm just going to look it up. So here's a list of like all the familiars and all of the possible lines that they have. So you can just go to Epic. Nice. Continually restore large amount of HP and MP. That's just for yourself. That's 15%. Restores HP to party members. That's 10%. So you're looking for the large amount. Small amount. Yikes. Large.
Okay, it's 15% there.
HP to party members.
Oh, the 10% to party members. Oh no, well that's not the large one.
Oh, HP to nearby allies, that's 10%. Yeah, 10. Where's the large amount? It's in there somewhere, you know. Just
yeah, I mean, I get it though.
Yeah,
like, that's a decent, sizable chunk of health.
Yeah, and because they stack, like in the beginning, you might rely on it a little bit too much, but then after a while, you're just, you know, as a damage dealer, you'll focus more on your own damage, and then hopefully you have more access to more boss and IED, and you can use the boss and IED as it's necessary to, you know, still hit the rates of the progression grid, but at the same time kind of fit around the puzzle with your Legion grid, your members, your link skills, your hyperstats, all of that, fitting it all together while building around your WSE, right? Because that's, of course, more rigid, and that's way harder to replace and to switch over. So that's going to be the thing that kind of like determines what other puzzle pieces you need to be in the right place. But as long as that all makes sense, we can go to, I guess, hyper skills and V matrix. I don't know if you're in the like, are you connected to other Nightwalkers? Maybe Nightwalker Discord. I guess more specific advice can usually be gotten there.
Yeah, I'm in the Nightwalker Discord, yeah, and I do feel good about like where my nodes are at this point, because I have my 4 perfect trios, and then I just have one extra one that gives me like just my 3 main skills to 60, which I can take out once those other ones are 25. The only thing I don't know, I feel like I struggle with getting my.
Don't you do 5 for Nightwalker? Well, let me double check.
I don't know. Well, I'm thinking Dark Omen, Quint Throw.
Oh, 3. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Spark, and then Dominion and Shadow Stitch. But they like menu.
Oh, I see. It seems that usually for Nightwalker they go for 3 total boost nodes. Yeah, to like max out Quintuple, Spark, Shadow Bat, and Dark Omen, and then you just take 1 more, and then usually I think people take. It says 1 of anything, but I think people usually take 1 of the minion.
Yeah, so that's 4 in total, right? That I would need.
Well, you max out 4 skills, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, both each twice, right? Which is 8, and then 1 of anything, which is 9. So you can fit that on 3 boost nodes.
Oh, okay.
So then that will allow you to put 2 extra skill nodes in there, because, you know, you got your Blessing, you've got your Last Resort, you've got your Cygnus Phalanx, you got your 4th V skill that you don't have in there. You probably want decent Speed Infusion in there. You want to probably get decent Combat Orders in there. You maybe want to get Urda Nova in there for a bind. You know, there's a lot of stuff that's left that's still wanting to get in there.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I guess I was trying to max out my Dominion and my Shadow Stitch too, but maybe I don't need that.
Really, I guess for optimization, I think what people usually look at is they'll do the BAs and kind of see, when it comes to Dominion and Shadow Stitch, like how much of a total damage of your battle analysis, of your total damage output, what kind of percentage do they represent, and is it worth bursting that over opening up other skills? Since you are so burst heavy, something like Last Resort and the Blessing instead will just overall increase your damage over time way more than by boosting those specific skills. So as you can get closer and closer to the point where you can get close to level, at least over level 40, but closer to level 60 on your important skills, it'll become more important to divest from extra boost nodes and to specify and cluster all of the important skills into as few boost nodes as possible, so you can have access to more skill nodes. Oh, you do have the fourth of you down here. They're already quite high level, so at this point you're going to be kind of like relegated to extracting them, which is going to feel a little bit bad, but at least you get your shards back, right?
Yeah.
But I'm pretty
as
sure
long as I have the levels, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not too salty about losing it.
Yeah, and you get some shards immediately to level up the other one, so you can get to like level 22, 23. That's usually when I start to focus a little bit more on making the skill nodes, because the boost nodes will eventually just level up from like 22, 23 to 25 just by opening nodes, right? For the virtue, and you got your holy symbol already leveled up, so that's nice. Oh, you do have your speed infusion. So what would come into play? It would be, let's say that we replace those 2 slots. For mobbing, it would probably be, I'm guessing, probably be decent combat orders and maybe even like a character building or something. The special node. Have you looked into that at all?
No, I mean I know about them, but I know there's like one I'm supposed to have for bossing, but I haven't looked into exactly.
Oh, like fail strengths.
I think phalanx charge is also like people use that a lot for mobbing.
Yeah, I think because it's like 30-second cooldown, right?
Yeah. Just covers like a nice like portion.
Yeah, and having a nice summon that just portions up part of the map, that could be the other one you use. Yeah, and probably phalanx charge before decent combat orders if you want to like train long sessions, making like a character building, because a special node lasts a week. It gives you every now and then it activates and gives you a bunch of extra EXP for 10 seconds. So that can just help you increase your rates a bit, but they only last a week, right? So if you're like, fuck that, I'm not gonna bother with all of that, I would just slap like a decent combat orders in there, because I think you have pet auto buffs, right?
Yeah, I do.
You know how I know that?
Oh.
Look at your very first screenshot. See your HP?
Oh yeah.
That's from being AFK in town and your pet's automatically buffing you.
Oh my god.
And then every time you walk back, it's like, oh, I almost died. Like, oh shit.
Yeah, I've literally died like at least like 3 times.
Oh, like going into a map. Yeah. I heard someone doing that. That's how they get you. That's how you buy the safety charms to get rid of the debuff again.
I swear, yeah, it's like 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Always.
A little bit, yeah. Or like 2 forward, 3 back, something like it feels really good, and then it's like one situation where you wish it didn't work like that. Yeah, so because I think especially when it comes to bossing, if you're solo bossing, you probably want to get the Nova in there. I don't think you have it at this point though, right? If you've been getting rid of them, Nova, the bind.
Yeah, I've been disenchanting or not, whatever, like
Yeah, because you got your cross stitch. Yeah, I don't know how important it is for some bosses. Some people, I would definitely hold on to it and just slowly level it, and not. So in the beginning, I'm okay with doing that, but once you get to the point where like your boost nodes are over 20, like some of the skill nodes are even over 10, like getting close to like 15, like 10ish on average, right, between all of them. At that point, the individual value of extracting a single boost node, a single skill node, starts getting lower than just holding onto it for later, for like future proofing. Because they're changing Nova, right, in the revamp in KMS now. It basically becomes a better bind than your cross stitch.
But you know they're also changing cross stitch to have like more of a vertical hitbox.
Thank God. Yeah. But Nova is gonna be like an AOE instant, and then if it's max level in a level slot, it'll go to a 100-second cooldown.
Oh wow, okay. So it's definitely gonna be useful to have.
Yeah, and so skills like that, and Urda's Will, and well, mainly those two. Those are going to be ones that, up until this point, I totally get that you disenchant them, but from this point on, when you get them, I would just hold on to them and just like level them internally. I could just like sit on them for when they become relevant.
Okay, that makes sense. But looking at my skill nodes right now, do you think that they're a little bit on the low side, or do you think that they're in a good spot in terms of like where I'm at in my progression?
Well, I guess you look at the progression grid, I think you're ahead of that, right? Like I'm looking at like level 40 boost nodes and level 5 at least skill nodes. You seem to be closer to like level 10 to 15 already on the skill nodes, and your boost nodes are getting upwards of 50 to, well, that's without the levels, but they're like all 40 plus. So I think you're totally fine where you're at, honestly.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I've always struggled getting like, I didn't you know, I would like spend my like extraction stuff on boost nodes before because I didn't know how important the skill nodes were. So that at that point, there was a point where it was like, oh, you don't have like your, you know, your level 25 GDS, and I was like, oh, no, I don't. So I just started like panic, like leveling that up like with everything I could because it does really help out a lot with the duration.
Well, there's two major things, right? One is that if people start playing a character and it's their second or third character, they'll immediately start with like 2,000 nodes that they can throw into a character, and then everything is like cakewalk from there on out. It's really different from starting your first character. The other thing is that I think you're slightly behind because of the investing into all of the different boost nodes, and probably went a little bit too hard on the fourth and fifth one. I think it's totally fine to go for like 4 or 5 in the beginning to squeeze those levels out, but ideally you get those last ones only to like level 6 or level 7 or something, just to get those easy levels. And then as soon as you find your perfect 3, you start pushing those to like level 23 or something, level 24. You get rid of the level 6 and 7s, extract, and then throw in all your skill nodes, and then start investing specifically into the skill nodes, and then slowly, passively level up the boost nodes as you just open more. And I think because you went a little bit harder on 5 boost nodes, you probably postponed a little bit how quickly you can start investing into the skill nodes. So that's where you're at now. But as long as you're clear now on where to go from here on out, then you'll be fine.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I think I have a good idea of like where I should be investing stuff in terms of the view matrix. It's just a matter of like getting the nodes, you know.
Yeah. Do you have the 3 that you would want to keep?
Here, let me actually. Right now, so I have Shadow Bat, Shadow Spark, Quint on 1. I think Omen, Quint, Shadow Bat. Yeah, I have
I think all the dominions you have also have the Stitch on it, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
So one of those will have to change.
Yeah, so it would probably have to be like another
Bad Omen. Oh, an Omen. If the level 20 in the middle, if that one gets an Omen instead of the Stitch, then you're done, I think.
Dominion, Omen, Shadow Spark.
Yeah, because then if you take that one and the ones on the 2 on the top right of that, I think then you're full, right? Because you got double bat there, double quintuple. And you got 1 Omen and 1 Spark, and then you'll be ready like that.
Okay, awesome.
It's also possible, of course, that you find a Dark Omen, like on the left one, and then find one like that with Spark and Dominion instead of the other 2. That'll work as well. Or if the one on the bottom, you find that one with Spark and Omen, and then the third one is with Spark and Dominion, and that one is Omen instead of Stitch. Like any of those 3 would work. And then you just extract the other 2 and then throws a little bit more into getting like level 22, 23, and then move the rest into the skill nodes. I'm not exactly 100% sure on what the order of the skill nodes is for NightWalker, but it seems like you have some connections already and some other NightWalkers who do know that, so I would just follow their advice on that.
Yeah, I'll definitely ask around, but yeah, I think that makes sense if I just replace one of these Shadow Stitches.
Yeah, because I think for bossing, then you get to throw in Last Resort and the Goddess Blessing, which will help a lot, I think, right?
Oh yeah.
And then for mobbing, you can get the Phalanx in there. Maybe I'm not sure. Probably either Decent Combat Orders or the special node probably in there.
Yeah. So basically the gist of it is, just free up as much space as possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Because I'm looking at it now, I'm like, yeah, I definitely have these like this level 20 and 18 node that are just like ridiculously high level for no reason.
Yeah, because the individual level of those skills is like, if you would add it all up, is like level 85 or something, right? A lot of that is going to waste at this point.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess once I get a little more optimal setup, then I'll be there.
Yep.
And then I get the Empress Cygnus Blessing gets upgraded at 245.
Yeah, I'm not 100% on how that works, but I believe there's some kind of quest and it gives way more percentage damage, I think.
Oh, okay, solid. Yeah. Do you think it's not worth like spending the Mesa, right, to unlock these slots? Do you think?
Well, I think if you put these 2 switches in, the amount of skill nodes that you immediately would want to put in gets reduced a lot. So I think you'll be fine. And then at 245, you can people start probably adding in the phalanx for damage, or yeah, you probably don't want to put the bind in there. Yeah, I don't know what else you would be putting in there at that point, unless I'm forgetting something incredibly crucial. You got your 4.
Maybe like Nova, whatever else.
Yeah, Urda's Will is usually very specific to certain bosses. I think you'll be fine. One thing that you can do is like the special node. So for if you need for damage, you can put in the Fatal Strikes. If you want to put in survivability, you can put in auto recovery, and if you want to be training, then you can put in character building. So those are, maybe you have one slot available for that, but I don't see any need right now to push like enabling another slot. I think you're fine.
Okay. Yeah, I actually didn't know that those, like, the special nodes expired.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I got, like, a few good ones. I was like, oh, like, hell yeah, I'm gonna hold on to these.
And then you log in and you see, like, node expired. You're like, oh, rip.
I was like, oh, might as well just, yeah, like, I wasted, like, 40 points there, or 50 points, whatever.
Yeah, it's a 50 shards if you extract them. Yeah, so if you make one, you can extract it again before it expires. They changed that in KMS at some point, where if they expire, quote-unquote, then basically they just get put on hold and they go like dormant, but you can still extract them to get the shards afterwards. But in
That's like a much better system.
Yeah, the way it is now, they just disappear and like rip your points because you forgot to extract them right before. Wow, nice, thank you.
Well, hopefully, I mean, I don't know. I feel like the direction they're taking with like a lot of stuff in the game, I was like, I'm hopeful that
a lot of quality of life stuff.
Have a lot more quality of life. Yeah, so.
Definitely.
That's kind of the reason why I came back in the first place too, because you know, after that whole like flame debacle,
flames and abilities, right? Also completely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I burned out at that point, and then I was watching some bossing videos. I was like, oh, this sounds kind of, you know, I kind of miss bossing in Maple. And I came back, I'm like, wow, they actually, you know, they made a lot of like great improvements to the, you know, to a certain extent, right? So
yeah, that's within
cautiously optimistic.
Within MapleStory's boundaries, of course.
Yeah, right. It's like you can't like put too much faith in them.
Not too much. Cautiously.
Exactly. Right.
Just wait for when they're gonna fuck up again. Okay. Did you have any questions left on like the systems or anything you had written down or something you definitely wanted to get over before we get to the equips?
No, I think I'm good to start with the equips.
Okay. Then let us look at the equips. So WSE first, right? Very important. Very low opportunity cost. Very high efficiency in value. It seems that is that's a tier 6 attack and tier 5 boss, right? On the weapon. That's very solid.
Yeah.
And you've got a 2-line attack with a line of damage. That's probably as good as you're going to get on an Abzo before you go absolutely crazy. And the secondary having that 1 IED line. I guess we didn't specifically talk about the IED, right? With the specific with the functional. So you have that. I think is it 7% per stack and then up to 5 stacks, or 5% up to 7 stacks, one of the two. But it goes up to 35% additive IED, right? On your on like the little bat debuff that you put on bosses.
It is. Let's see.
I think it's 7% 5 stacks. Because it starts at like a low percentage, and then you have like a 2, 3, and 4 that empowers it with like an extra %, I think.
Per mark, 1%. So it's 5. I think it's 20%. Because you get up to 20. Or no, wait, maybe I'm looking at. Yeah, I think it stacks up to like 20. You get plus 1% per stack. Something like that. I might be wrong there.
We went over it a few times. I think it ends up being 35.
Okay.
I think I don't know if the first stack is like 4% or something. It says so, and then the second just is 1 extra %, and then the third one is an extra %, and the fourth one is an extra %, I think. So it goes up to like 7. That goes like additive per stack to 7, and then additive to 5 stacks to 35, and then that counts as a chunk of 35. And when it comes to looking at what your functional IED is, I mean, I have a IED command where I basically talk about like how do you calculate it, right? How do the numbers work? Basically talking about, are you familiar with the difference between additive and multiplicative?
Yeah.
So, because you add 35% on 90.5, it doesn't mean you go to 121, right? Some people think that in the beginning, but it's sadly a bit harder than that.
I think you'd end up getting like 4 or 5 visual from that.
Yeah, depending on where you start, right? If you're starting at 0, you go from 0 to 35. If you're starting at 90, you go from 90 to 93.5, right? Because it's always the percentage of how much you have left to get to 100%. That's the easy way of looking at it. So you're at 90%, you add 10%, you get 10% of the missing 10%, which is 1%. You go from 90 to 91. That's how you want to, just if you want to do like the quick maths in your head. There's also a link.
Oh, yeah, that is a good way of looking at it.
Yeah, there's also a link to a calculator where you can just put the numbers in to make sure where you're at, and then with that number you can compare to the progression grid and be like, okay, am I off by a lot, or am I just like, is one little extra source coming in going to be good enough? Because your that debuff that you have, plus you also have your boost nodes, right? Getting a lot of IED done, and that's going to be a lot of your damage. And I believe doesn't your spear have like, is it crit rate or IED also built in?
Shadow Spear?
Yeah.
I'm reading it right now. I think it just gives me damage against normal monsters.
Oh, okay. That's not nearly as exciting.
Yeah, I wish.
Yeah, that would be nice if
maybe in the revamp.
Who knows? Maybe that's on the way. So, and then there's also a list of like all the possible sources. So specifically early on, get IED lines from familiars are huge, and you basically take all of the IED you can get the earlier you are, right? And then the next major thing, so I can check through the equips to see if you have it, but I'm expecting like the Monster Parker badge is probably, Monster Parker medal is probably still on the way, right?
Yeah, I'm like 70% done with it.
Okay, that's cool.
Just have like one day where I still need like 5 weeks, which is like
is it Wednesday?
Number. Yeah, it is Wednesday. How'd you know?
Because that's the maintenance and patch day, so that's usually the one that you get destroyed on and you can't play.
Oh, dude,
and that's my day as well, as a result. Yep, that's the one. Yeah, that one just, and then you start on the next one. That's how I do it. Like, I'll just start working. If a day is max, I'll start working on the next character, and then basically keep that as a constant, how many runs I'm doing. But just sometimes it'll be like, oh, okay, Wednesday on this character, Thursday on this other character, Saturday on this other character already, because of the amount of clears, and it becomes a clusterfuck. But
okay, yeah.
Try to keep the value.
You definitely got that figured out.
Yeah, well, yeah, I try. Not saying it's without mistakes, but in the long term, that's how I got my 7,000 gold potions, just sitting in my inventory.
I mean, it's almost like, like you're a professional.
Yeah, almost like it's my job, yeah. So yeah, like, honestly, at this point, if you're you could probably go a little bit higher on ID if you wanted to. I don't think it's very important because, you got the boost nodes, you got your passive debuff. A lot of times you also get a little bit of ID help from party members. There's a lot of party members that can reduce the armor of the boss. So like a Zero, Mercedes, a Bishop, a Night Lord, Demon Avenger. I mentioned Zero, yeah. I think Beast Tamers. Like, there's a lot of classes that can end up adding Paladin, right? Any of these in your party will also make your ID go up even higher. So I don't think at this point, even up until normal Lucid and then normal Will, I think you're totally fine. The reason that people end up going for higher ID is not so much because they need it, but because from an efficiency standpoint, it makes sense to do so. And what's mainly going to happen is that some of your sources are going to go up in size. Now, your Legion board is already maxed out there, so that's not going to change as much. But it's mainly going to be level 2 links moving into level 3 links. And I don't know if you're using the Explorer Mage link. Are you using that one already when you're bossing?
Yeah.
And you're using Bravado now, yeah. So like Lightwash going from 2 to 3. The Explorer Mage link, level 6. You can probably move out of Bravado and then adding the Monster Parker medal and then adding the Superior set, right? I assume with all calculations intact at that point, and especially once you go to the Arcane Weapon that is built in with 20% IED over 10, when all of that comes into play, you probably won't have to even need the IED line on the secondary anymore. But since you have that with 2 lines of attack, that means that this is going to stay with you for a long time, so we're going to build around this, right? So since you have this, that probably means that you'll be able to move from ID familiars into bossing familiars faster. And if you get superior on top of this, that probably means that you can maybe even divest from the Legion board when it comes to IED and move that into boss damage instead, so that you can keep the value of the Princess No secondary on point and not have to worry about re-rolling that. And once you do get to the point where it starts making sense to re-roll that, by the way, that's probably once all of your accessories are like 20-star, CRAs 21, maybe 22, and you're at least one piece arcane, but possibly going into all pieces arcane. And then you want to like min-max on the WSE. That's probably when you start looking at that. But then you have so many more pieces to puzzle with that you can just fit that puzzle around whatever you end up rolling at that point. And you could even consider rolling with black cubes or rolling on another secondary on the side as with like mass red cubes as a way to cheaper get to the point without having to lose the value that you already have. But I'm pretty sure, and again, this is what Nightwalkers will know better, I think if you do all the maths, you probably get to the point where you can get your IED that you want without needing to rely on any lines of IED on your WSE because of that passive that you have.
Yeah, I think that's the general consensus, is that you don't actually need like an IED line on your
It's super
WSE.
valuable for progression, though. It's kind of like the Meso-Obtain Inner ability, right? Like, you don't need that in endgame, but if you get that, you get to the finish line a lot faster, and that's basically what that IED line is for you. Yeah,
it helps out a lot, but I don't know. I feel like at this point, like there's a very, very low chance that I'm rolling anything better than that, so I guess I'll just play around it.
100%. And like, again, for like comparative advantage wise, it would be completely inefficient to do so. There's probably so many other pieces that you can work on before you push there. But just to kind of like stage it in the general line of progression with all the other pieces, basically. So your WC is definitely very solid for now. You know, the damage lines always feels a little bad when you roll it, but it's better than the alternative of having absolutely nothing there. So it's almost like having a 20% boss damage line, you know, between your weapon and your emblem. So that's pretty nice.
Yeah, I'm happy with it.
So the Abzo, Flames, 23. Yeah, so you're not pushing super hard on the Flames, right? Because they're going to get replaced with Arcane.
Yeah, I mean, I just got one for the all-stat, and like, that's about it.
Yeah, that all seems good. Are you pushing CRA-wise? Did you just push one item at a time, or were you going for the staggered approach, but the other pieces just didn't get there?
I think I just like randomly just went up to 20 stars on my pants, but everything else, like at that point I was like, you know, I only had like 200 mil left or something like that, so I haven't tried to level anything up yet. I think I tried to tap it to 22 and it didn't work out, but I got it back up to 21. So
that's it.
So it's scarier than actual Russian roulette. Dude. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I say that because I went for my rings recently, trying to get them all from 21 to 22. It all worked out, but that was also pretty scary in the moment. Just to give the feedback, and I don't know if you're familiar with the Star Force command, and if you have looked into the calculators at all.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so you can always put in the metrics to see like what is the expected rate of return, what's the expected rate of booming, right, when you're working up to an event. And you are now at the point where every single upgrade is getting considerably expensive, and it's probably a decent idea to have somewhat of an estimation of like how much is this going to cost me, how much is this going to set me back, and where do I push my money. When it comes to so this is like my general thought on it, and then you can take that however you want. I think 21 stars is a really good spot to be at for quite a long time. I think 22 is totally good for a goal, but aiming for 22 when there's still other pieces of similar upgrading that aren't 21 yet, I think is so inefficient that I would highly advise against it. Of course, you know, it's your money, it's your account, you could do whatever you want. But there's like two scenarios, right? There's two scenarios where someone has 3 CRA pieces at 17, and there's two people. One person tries to get everything to 18, then everything to 19, then everything to 20. Like usually you go 19 to 21, you kind of skip the 20 because 20 to 21 is kind of free, right? And 19 to 20 is where the big danger is anyway. Yeah. You know, and they have the same level of luck. One person gets one piece to 21, and the other two, you know, strand at 17. And they spend the same amount of money. The other person gets one piece to 21, but the other two pieces to 19. Why? Because they went all to 19 first with the same amount of money, and then managed to get one from 19 to 21 and then stopped. Or you have another situation where two people have the same thing. One person just ends up with all 3 pieces at 17 because one piece just wouldn't go to 17, and the other person also couldn't get their one piece to 17, but they got all of them to 18, then all of them to 19, and then one item kept dropping back from 19 to 17, so they end up with 17, 19, 19, and the other person ended up with 17, 17, 17. Right? In both of these situations, you can see that the person who spread their investment over the different pieces ends up on average with a better result. But it totally depends on how whether you need the upgrade or whether you just want the upgrade. If you want 21 or 122 to be done, that can be a good motivator for some people, but more so I would say the people who are brute forcing and are doing like all of the totems and then a bunch of hours of kana farming on the side, and they just want to brute force the upgrades. If you're a little bit more on the lower end on your income and you have to be a little bit more wise with your money, I feel like it makes more sense to go like everything 18, everything 19, and then go like one star at a time, especially on CRA. Because if you take the average amount of money to get 121 and you divide it over the 3 pieces, if you get 2 more stars and you get your whole CRA to 19 versus 1 to 21, you end up with more total gains just because of the, every single additional star gives you more stats, but is always lower in efficiency than a star on another piece on the lower end.
Right. Yeah. I mean, at this point, I'm not like starved for damage at all. I think I'm in a pretty comfortable spot in terms of where.
Yeah, I'm not telling you this is how you have to do it. I'm just trying to highlight that those different scenarios, and you just do whatever you want with that because it's
but
your
I
life,
definitely am trying to do the most the most efficient way possible. I'm not like I don't want to brute force anything to like 22, 21.
Yeah, and 22 can be very tempting because it's like it's done. But man, if you blew up those pants from 21 to 22 and you had to go back down to 17, yeah, like
that'd be it for me.
That's what I want to right. Like, so if there's a decision that would end up causing you like, so usually that's how I look at it, is like what would be worse, like trying it and like not getting it, or how do I word this, like is the chance of getting it worth and then is the chance of trying to get it and then not getting it, is that going to cause you more harm than just settling on it and sitting on your money? Like what is the EV positive decision there? And I think in most situations people be like, yeah, just being a little bit more patient and wait a little bit longer is probably the better. But I know in some moments, the RNG, and the Gamba can get the better of you. I know how that feels, but the further you go, you learn to pick your battles with that, and then because like in this situation, like trying to get the pants from 21 to 22, I'd be like, oh, please get the other pieces to like up to 19 and then up to 21 first, because you'll have so much more to back. Like if all the pieces are 21 and then one booms from 21 to 22 and goes down to 17, nobody gives a shit, right? But the emotional hit of having this and then going back to triple 17, that'll just feel bad because you're like, I was so close and now I'm way back in the beginning where I started, right?
Yeah, no, that'd be terrible. But it, to be fair, it was my first, like that's the first 21 star I ever got, and so I was like, you know what, dude, I'm gonna just like,
you're invincible at that point. Yeah.
Just to see what happens. Luckily, nothing happened, but yeah,
I get it. Totally get it. Flame score wise, I think it's the top first, then the pants, then the hat. The hat is definitely at the lower end here, right? So I don't know where you're throwing your flames at this point. You did mention the superior stuff, but I think the average value you get back from flaming the hat here is probably still better than working on the superior at this point. Just because I think the difference between, relative flame score here and the number that you're looking at in the progression grid is still decently big. Because I think you're probably still looking for like an 85 to 90, and the hat, by the looks of it, is like a 50, is like close to a 60. So that's like should be a pretty easy 25 there, comparative, right? And again, for flames, also have a calculator for that, or like a link for the calculator. It's not my calculator, but someone made that. So you can kind of check, like, if I go from this flame score to this, how much is that going to cost on average? And I go from this on the superior, how much is that going to cost? I think you'll be surprised how expensive a small increase in flame score in something like superior is on average, because the outcomes are just garbage.
Oh yeah, no, I totally get that. I guess I'm just like, I haven't like really sat down and like flamed my CRA super heavy yet.
No, I get that. If
I have like a stray flame or something, like I just don't want to lose like the all stat.
Yeah, I get that.
At the end of the day, I know it's not like a huge difference, but visually. Like,
your superior will probably get to the point where you're like, okay, now the superior has like 30, 35 or something, and then you're like, I don't want to lose that because that's hard to come by, and then you'll just go back to the CRA piece. But again, like if all of the money is kind of like evenly getting divvied out in your account, losing the flame on the hood again is not going to lose your kill speed whatsoever, right? It's just about like where do you get the biggest bang for your buck. And if I'm looking flame wise, I think your hat is like a good candidate for flaming. The only other item that would be close could be like your pink holy cup, for example, but I haven't gotten to that one yet, so we might get to that. Well, I guess your tattoo could get a little bit. What's the situation with so drop rate and meso set? You're complete, and you're using these rings for everything.
Yeah, basically. I don't have like a main stat ring set yet, so I'm waiting to get like my actual like starable rings. Do that. The sweet one. I have what's it called?
Kind of treasure ring?
The Zacom accessories that have some luck and then item percentage. I didn't put them in.
Oh, you didn't put them in. Okay.
Yeah, it was part of my. But that's like basically like what I have so far in terms of like this is what I'd go into like a boss with. And then the Sweetwater tattoo, I just got that like not too long ago. So potential wise, it's just kind of just sitting there.
Right, and you've got the transposed pendant.
Yeah, the pendant I got pretty lucky.
And how far are you? How far along are you with the superior Golic stuff?
I have 3. I just need the ring now, and I'm saving up my coins to get it. But other than that, because I was wondering like, you know, like with the superior Golic stuff, like would it be worth it to get it to 17, or should I just like go straight to 21 on like a fodder piece and then?
Yeah, so that's one thing. It depends on your income and your amount of backups. I think most people on like a second or third or fourth character will probably do that, where they just completely just like 21 into transfer and then start working on and then maybe even like, you know, tap it again to 21 and then start working on the potential. If it's like your first character, usually that's a little bit too big of a leap, because you want to work on a CRA to 21 first. You want to, you know, make sure that if you get maybe close-ish to the arcane weapon, that you can immediately capitalize on that and you don't have to slow that down too much. You have, you know, the expense on top of the Star Force, of course, of getting all the potential of the superior stuff ready and moving into the Sweetwater and replacing the entire drop and meso set with a damage set. That can be a lot at the same time. So it totally depends on how fast you're making money, and by the next event, what kind of resources amount you're sitting on. I think there's definitely the potential for that, yeah. So you have 3 pieces now, and you're saving up coins for the ring? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
And you're pretty low on the coins. I'm guessing you just bought your first piece, or
so I bought the pendant, and then I've just been kind of like I got the belt and the earrings from drop, and then
I
think I'm like 300 or 400 coins away from the ring, and then I know I need like the reinforced ring, so that's some point.
The reinforced ring, and then so you have kind of treasure, Meister, reinforced,
I don't have Meister.
superior.
I actually never messed with like professions too much in the game, but I think what I'm planning to do is Kana, reinforced, superior, and then guardian angel ring. Sure,
yeah. I mean, you can plan for guardian angel ring, but you know it might not happen. But that could be a thing.
Is that like a super low drop rate on that?
It's a pretty low drop rate from normal. Yeah, from chaos it seems to be better, but I've seen like my party's got 1 out of 6. I heard another party got 1 in 7 runs. I heard another party got 5 in 8 runs. So you know it's a little bit all over the place. Hopefully as time goes on it'll even out. But if you get 6 people in the party and you get 1 every 7 runs, on average there could be 42 runs until it's your turn, right? It'll be a whole year. So by that time, it would make more sense to just reliably get the Meister ring going, and then if you do end up, if you get a high Star Force Meister and then you get the Angel ring, then you can transfer the Meister into another superior with backup coins, and then that superior into the Angel ring, and then get high Star Force Angel ring immediately, right?
Oh, okay,
so
that makes sense.
You can still, pass on the value that way.
Yeah, honestly, I have no idea like how hard it actually is to get to 20-star, because I think I got pretty lucky with my pants.
With your pants, yeah. I mean, probably.
Yeah.
If you try to get a 21 to 22 immediately as well, then you probably got pretty lucky, because with how unlucky you get in general, you're like, I don't want to ruin this at all. Don't touch it at all anymore until everything. Yeah.
You know, before I started star forcing, I had no idea how frustrating that whole system is.
Yeah.
It's like really bad.
Yeah, that's why you want to kind of like spread your investments over the pieces to not all of the eggs in one basket and then throw the basket off the ravine. And then
do you think that shit works where you fail a couple times on like some random item and then you go like star force like the thing that you want to do?
Well, let's just say that it shouldn't work. Whether it does or not, I think you guys will know in like 2 years, unless the next scandal comes out.
Yeah, right.
It shouldn't work, right? Because every single thing should be like an individual. But then I've also had situations where I rolled 2 cubes in a row and they rolled the exact same potential, which on like 2 different items, or like rolled exactly 2 the same flames in a row, because it like copied. I don't know. That kind of feels like shuffling 2 decks of cards and getting the exact same shuffle back to back. That seems like there's some kind of
like
program error. So not quite on that order of magnitude, but something like that. So it is possible that it works, but it shouldn't. But yeah, you know, it doesn't really matter if it should or shouldn't. If it does, then you know it's something to
I don't
take
know. My brain
account.
says it doesn't work, but my heart says, you know, if I got 2 fails, logically, I'm getting a success.
Yeah, that's like fallacy in statistics, right? But I mean, if it ends up working, then who cares how you got it, right?
Yeah, right. I like to believe, you know.
Yeah.
Manifesting it.
For sure. Yeah, so the rings and everything, that's like solidly going to be a drop rate set, so you're maintaining a lot of luck. That's cool, but it's mainly like the process of switching all of the accessories over. That's the main thing that you want to be focusing on. So if you feel like you have enough belt backups, you have enough reinforced ring backups, you have enough dominators, and that's what I did want to mention. When you say you don't really do daily bosses, normal arc would be one that I would advise to do on a daily basis.
Oh yeah, I do normal arc every day.
With the drop rate, yeah. Not just for the dominators, well, also really for the dominators, but also for the primals, right, that you can drop so that you can access Meister later. So I probably look for like the shorter term, probably look into Superior Ring and then into Meister kind of Treasure Ring, and then either reinforced or look into. Did you pick up the current event ring already?
I think I got it on my Dawn Warrior.
Mm-hmm. Because they start with high stats, right? And there's the upcoming event, Choo-Choo, I believe, has 3 of those event ring coupons as well. You could also use that as a 4th ring, as a placeholder, because you might want to, if you're thinking of going 21 to 20 onto the superior stuff, and then you probably want to tap at 20 to 21 again. If you want to have your Gollux coins as backup to do that, then you might want to postpone buying the reinforced ring so that you can save the coins as a backup instead for that project. And then if that goes through, or you know, however successful that is, probably after 1 boom, you're like, okay, I'm just going to tap to 20 and then hold that for a while. Then you can still decide, I'm going for the reinforced ring and switch out the event ring or not. But the difference between like a 17-star reinforced and that event ring is pretty small, so that would be a very good placeholder to make sure that you can go a little bit faster into the tapping 20 to 21 transferred superior.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, but I would just totally let that depend on like how far you want to go and how much money you have at the time of Fact and 15, honestly.
Yeah, I think with income-wise, I think I can make a good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know.
There's not much else to dedicate your money to, so I don't think it's a bad idea, honestly. It's either that or
right now, and
it's either that or working on the other ring specifically. But if you haven't really worked on Meister yet, you probably only have a few kind of treasure rings because that drop rate is pretty shit. You do have the large drop familiar now though, so that will help a lot with the dominators, with the kind of treasure rings, you know, with the primals, with the soul shards. So that's very good. But I think you're set up quite well, and you have a full drop rate of Mezzo set, right? 9 total lines.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking at like 200% drop with the familiar, and then obviously like 100% mess. So it could be 120.
Mm-hmm. So I guess like in order, like for the 3 major categories, because we just passed the hour and a half, so I guess to kind of like wrap it up for like mid-long mid-long term. So when it comes to star forcing, I probably look towards getting your other 2 CRA pieces to 19, because like comparatively to how much you can gain there versus how much risk it is, it's just easily the best thing to go for. If beyond that you want to start trying to do the fodder thing, like to 21 into the superior, be my guest there. Once those things are kind of done and they're sitting at 20, whether you want to tap 20 to 21, I probably try to get the CRA from 20 to 21 first. That gives you a little bit more time to get backups for the superior stuff. And you can probably just sit on like an epic 20-star superior anyway. That's already going to be great anyway, right? So you're not really forced to go higher there on the potential. That'll give you a little bit more time to get more Golex coins, possibly even backups on the belts and earrings, so you can try it on the belts and earrings itself. If you only did one of the pieces without even having to try to transfer over, right? Because that on average is going to be even cheaper. Like, so let's say that you get like 2 superior backup earrings and you're sitting on a 20-star superior belt. You can even try to get the superior earring on itself, just start forcing it all the way up to 21. Because if it doesn't boom, you're done, right?
Yeah, that would be really nice.
And like, kind of postponing some upgrades can give you insight into the RNG, and then the RNG in the game can show you where is the most risk and where is the lower risk. Because by that point you're like, okay, now I want to work on rings. I have like 2 kind of treasure rings, but maybe I have enough to make like 5 Meisters. Oh, now you can go high on Meisters. Maybe you got 2 primals, but you got like 7 or 8 kind of treasure rings. Oh, now you can go harder on the kind of treasure rings instead, right? So in kind of ordering your and you have none of those. Oh, maybe you have a bunch of dineros now, so now you can work on the Sweetwater tattoo and maybe on the eye if you want to, right? So based on where you order the projects, the RNG in the game will help you, rather than it being shit and not giving you everything, it'll give you something always, so you can then push in that direction more than the other one.
Yeah, so you just want to push in the direction that's going to give you the least
resistance. Yeah.
Risk, resistance.
Lowest risk, exactly, yeah. And that'll just translate to the biggest bang for your buck, the highest efficiency, and the lowest opportunity cost, basically. So it all comes down to, again. Flame-wise, I would just slowly flame up probably the hat and then the pants a little bit. I think everything else is probably okay. And then, because you're not going to be switching into the superior at any time yet, so I wouldn't be actively flaming that, right? Because if you want to do the 21 to 20 transfer, then that's going to be pushed back a little bit. So then the flames are also kind of being used on a dead item. After that, probably the tattoo can use a little love, right? Because that's not giving you any luck. So that when you switch into that, you want to get something there. And after that, I mean, it'll be superior, and then just going full steam once you get to the arcane weapon. But you're gonna need more more lucid clears and more practice there. So looking for a party, maybe through guild, maybe through the alliance, maybe through my chat, maybe through Discord, finding people in different places and starting up some normal lucid parties is going to give you a quicker idea of like how long it's going to roughly take to make a weapon. Because if you get 1 or 2 droplet drops from the boss per week, and you need 24 of them to make the weapon, it's going to be anywhere between 12 and 24 weeks of clearing, right? So that's going to give you kind of a time frame on when you need to have the money ready for the arcane.
Yeah, I know we're a little bit over time, but I just wanted, like, in regards to the arcane stuff, because I am going to be moving into that, like, in the near future. Like, how important do you think it is to spend meso or whatever on like the shop droplets at this point? Because I have like 100 or so, or like 120.
Yeah, I buy the black bean ones. I honestly would not buy any of the meso ones right now because of the shop. What KMS did with the choo-choo event that's coming after this one, the choo-choo festival, is that they added permanent shops to Reboot where you could buy a bunch of stuff, including droplets. They'll just be permanently purchasable without limits.
Okay, nice.
And you'd even get like the guild discount, so technically they'd even be a little bit cheaper, but you can just buy them in the moment when you know you have enough and you want it. And you wouldn't do the thing where you buy a bunch of droplets and then all of that money is just sitting in your inventory, just gathering dust until you have the boss drops. But instead you can buy it in the moment when you have enough, which means you can have the money working for you in the meantime, which means you get stronger and you get to the finish line faster. So I would hold off on buying the Mezzo ones. Yeah, I bought a few of them myself because I was just 5 and 15. I was trying to finish my last 21-star arcane item, so I was just like buying backups as I was blowing them up because yay. And then I was buying some extra from the Mezzo shop because I'm not too bothered with like saving 100 mil or something, or maybe like a few bill even by buying it later. Like I don't really care that much. I just want to have it done. But for you, since comparatively it's going to be such a huge investment, it's fine to hold off.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Okay, I don't know if there's any pieces in your equips that you still had any questions about.
No, I think that's pretty much all I got all my main questions basically answered, and yeah, I think this was a great session. It's definitely very eye-opening. I especially really like the whole like keep your daily routines the same by like if you finish on one character, like move that to another character. I think that's a super genius idea.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to not overload yourself with dailies, but also not completely slack on them. Because once you find that solid amount that you're okay with, and one character just doesn't need it anymore, pick up 1 or 2 on another character to kind of fill in the gap. And that way you can make it so that you keep a steady stream of progress in your account without ever going like way off course or like way too heavy or way too little.
Yeah, so I guess moving forward I'll just be leveling up, saving Meso, working on flames on the CRA, star forcing stuff, evenly, just working up to 20, and then
yeah, as long as you steadily give yourself all the opportunities for backups, right? Like, doing CPAP for a PAP mark, that kind of stuff, like doing normal ARC, doing Princess No every week. Like, as long as you give yourself the most access you can get to the potential for upgrading, one of those pieces is going to come to the forefront is like, hey, look at all the backups I have here. I am the least risky to upgrade now. And then that's just where you push more. And then once that's done, something else is going to show up, or something else is going to become the next in line, and then that becomes the next thing to focus on. And that's kind of like the blessing of the RNG, is you're never going to get unlucky on all of these things. There's always going to be 1 or 2 of them that you're getting lucky on, and then that's just the part that you push heavier on before you get to the other pieces.
Yeah, that's how they keep you hooked.
Definitely, yeah.
Give you that one glimmer of hope,
Yep.
And you're like, well, time to pop this totem again.
Yep. Oh shit, here we go again.
Yeah. All right, well, I think that's it for me. I mean, if that's good for you, then.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to do any shout outs or any you want to call out. Look, Mom, he's on TV.
Thanks for being here with me, chat. Unban my boy.
What's his name?
Free my boy. I'd have to ask.
You don't even know. Yeah, no, you could get unbanned. I just wanted to make sure that we didn't get a bunch of people locked in Lackaline, because yeah, joking about it is one thing, but getting like 20 people stuck is
yeah. All in good fun.
Yeah. Okay. For sure.
All
okay.
Right, thanks so much for the. I really appreciate the advice. I think I definitely recommend for anybody who is looking for progression advice. Definitely hit my man up.
There we go.
He knows what he's talking about.
All right, good shit. Well, you're very welcome, and wish you the best of luck, and I'll see you around.
All right, thank you.
All right, have a good one. All right, cool. So that's another NightWalker, up and down. I think the 20% crit is really, really good carry this early on. Gives you a lot of flexibility. Honestly though, like hitting this 20 crit and hitting this on your secondary, oof, that is so fantastic. It gives you so much breathing room with everything else. Slowly you can work on your Legion, and then once you have the Legion, you can take that pressure off of those pieces and spread that pressure off through the other pieces to your hyperstats, to your link skills. And then later on once the familiars start coming in, that takes even more pressure off, and then you can start puzzling. And then you just have so many options that you can optimize within. So that's some good shit. Also, getting that 100% drop rate familiar that he got early, this is really going to set him up for further into the future as well. So many more familiars, so much more chance of getting drops to get backups, like the Kana treasure rings, like the Dominator pennants that we talked about. So that's going to yeah, it's going to give them a lot of resources to work with. So if you like this session, I'm glad. Hopefully you learned at least 1 or 2 new things. If you heard something or you want to teach me 1 or 2 new things based on this session, let me know. Leave comments. If you want to win one of these sessions for free, make sure you leave a comment saying so. We are now in February, so I'll be drawing the winners from January soon, and I will be reaching out through the YouTube comment section to those people. And on that note, I'm just double checking my audio because I just realized I might have forgotten. I did not forget. The session is actually uploadable. If you don't want to wait a whole month to possibly win, make sure you check the description of the video on how you can redeem one of these sessions with me. I do it in private as well if you're not as, what's the word? Not as, well, you just don't want to be in public. It's as simple as that. If you need any of the resources, swing by my Twitch chat, twitch.tv/Scardor. I stream there every day. You can access all of these commands through the Twitch chat by using the exclamation mark and then the text of whatever you're looking for. You're looking for the dailies, looking for progression, looking for anything, all right? Any topic, commercy, hyperstats, any of those things. All have commands linked to them with a bunch of information. It's going to be either grid, a link, a video, anything. Yeah, other than that, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and bye, YouTube.